Hey guys, welcome back to the Cool Classic Kid Show. Today we're talking about Final Fantasy 16 because, well, it was my most anticipated game, and personally I have yet to finish it. Been going strong and playing the game, and I'm still into it, man. I'm still into it. Is it a perfect game? Definitely not. Definitely not, but there's a lot of positives to the game, and I'm interested to see how it all turns out because there's a lot of depth to it. And, today we're particularly discussing the female protagonist, which accompanies Clive. And Clive is the main character. There will be very, very minute spoilers here, guys. I'll try my absolute best to not really get too deep into it by any means. But Clive is the main protagonist that you play as. And he basically has his partner in crime, okay, which is Jill. And Jill is an awesome female protagonist. I genuinely enjoy Jill. I think that she's a very interesting character, a character that is truly passionate. And Clive, she and Clive were, childhood friends that lost touch with each other for a long time. And Final Fantasy 16 really dives into some really effed up shit that happens, particularly to the characters in this world. And when they find each other again, they form a bond, a partnership. They both want the same thing, and they both realize that working together is so important. And I really do like Jill. I like Clive and I like Jill. I think that they're the strongest part of this game, really. But then we have Kotaku, man, and I felt like this was gonna happen. Kotaku particularly is funny about female heroines, I guess you could say. And modern day feminism really doesn't do justice to women at all, really. If anything, in my personal opinion, it encourages women to be as masculine as possible because according to, modern day feminism, femininity is bad or lesser than masculinity. So I felt like Jill was definitely going to get some heat because, well, she's very much feminine, in all the positive ways, really. And I really enjoy her character for that. It's a character that is different from what is seen as the norm. She actually has a personality. She's passionate. She's very relatable. She's had a really messed up past that makes you feel for this character. And all of these things, showing all sorts of different sides to a woman that aren't just, well, they're gonna act super strong and like a man and nothing's gonna phase them sort of deal. Basically, she's the opposite of a Mary Sue. And that in itself makes this character dislikable to modern day feminism. And, well, let's just jump into this article that Kotaku has written, and the title had me like, what the hell? But they said Final Fantasy 16's Jill should be more than pretty. And this title is ironic because she's far more than just pretty. To me personally, I actually have some issue with Jill's visual design. I didn't feel like she was female like protagonist like designed. I think she's very pretty. I think that overall she has a pretty nice design. But I felt as though, I don't know, she kind of felt normie-ish. That's how I felt personally, but I do like her design overall. She's definitely more than just pretty. And what makes me gravitate to her character is not necessarily her looks. It's more so her backstory, what she's striving for. Like her and Clive. I love that bond that they have thus far. But they say Square Enix heroine embodies an age-old issue developers have with women in video games. Yes, she's actually, she's not a Mary Sue, so it's a problem. That's what I'm getting from this automatically. And this article is by Ashley Bardhan. Let us see. White woman? Well, I'm considered a white woman to some, even though I'm of mixed race. So I'm just gonna go with white woman. Because, we can't actually have real discussions anymore. So annoying white woman seems like from this basic picture. Now I continue. They say I'm sure that I love Jill Warwick, Final Fantasy 16's female lead, because her hair is healthy and long, gathered at the end with a ribbon, with a delicate braid as ornament. I also love her. I think because she wears a cream-colored camise under layers of blue leather. Consider contrasting like the small icicles that form at the lips of a flower during a confusing spring. She's pretty, but I keep waiting for that moment in Final Fantasy 16 where she becomes much more than that, and it doesn't come. So I don't know how deep she's going to get into spoilers here. If worst case scenario, I'll just edit the blatant spoilers out. But I mean, she's just completely concentrated on Jill looking put together, which she does look put together. She has a visual design that men would find attractive, straight men would find attractive, maybe even women that happen to be bisexual or gay would also find attractive. There's nothing wrong with that. There is far more to her character than that. And from this, but I keep waiting for that moment in Final Fantasy 16 where she becomes more than that. I have to question this statement. What were you expecting? For her to become, what, girl boss? But let us continue with the article. They say video games have had this problem for decades, building beautiful women and hoping that beauty is enough. Trust me, Jill is more than just her looks. And women in the industry like Anita Sarkeesian, who discuss aspects of the topic in her popular Tropes vs. Women in Video Game series a decade ago, and Kotaku editor-in-chief Patricia Hernandez, who wrote about perfectionism in Lollipop Chainsaw around the same time, have always been disappointed by it. This person supports Anita Sarkeesian. Oh my god, you are Anita Sarkeesian is an absolute joke to gaming. But I will say, unfortunately, Anita Sarkeesian had gotten a lot further than she should have. This woman's words have made so much change to gaming in the absolute worst ways possible. Games have depreciated in being interesting because of Anita Sarkeesian. And a lot of freaking low-life loser developers, instead of concentrating on making fun games with characters that we can all enjoy and appreciate, everything is now political. Everything, you have to be careful what you do, especially how you depict women, and it has made gaming become a very closed box. Anita Sarkeesian has made gaming, especially revolving around females in gaming, become a very closed box topic. There's a very big lack of variety around females in gaming. And this is the problem. But this clown actually gotta tip their hat to. They had to tip their I don't know, what is it, Kersey or whatever, to Anita Sarkeesian. You're already an absolute moron. But they go into spoiler warning. But I've been recently asking myself how much of a problem I think it is, aside from her character design, which has inspired elaborate cosplay and starry-eyed fan art in under a week since the game's release. Oh man, she's pretty and inspired people to actually want to look like her and draw fan art of her. Oh my god, this is a problem. I like Jill because she's a woman I can relate to in a video game. At a time when mainstream games seem to be warring with themselves over whether to continue to write nauseating caricatures or the Urban Dictionary definition for strong female lead, that's rare. And my thing is, like, if you find these to be problematic, why do you find Jill's character to be problematic? Why can't you yourself see the qualities of Jill's character is my question. But it just feels like this is lip service. In temperament and backstory, Jill is not a cartoon of what a woman is. When she's first introduced to us as a child, praying under a full moon for protagonist Clive's safe return, letting a tear glitter down her cheek with no self-consciousness. We're shown that Jill is passionate, she's spiritual, and she's not afraid to bear tenderness. Yes, all qualities, but no self-consciousness. You mean no, basically she cares more than just about herself? Because that's what that scene in the game is displaying. Like, she's concerned. She cares more than just about herself. She's not self-centered cunt. Jill insists she's changed after Clive reunites with her as an adult, out of necessity. Yeah, to help, to be of benefit to others. She went from being, I guess, like, sort of not... She went from being a person that's watching others go into battle to her herself being involved in the battle directly. That's really the change from her character when she was a kid. They continue, she's killed people with the Frost spirit she plays vessel for, but throughout Final Fantasy XVI's first act, I only see more evidence of her deep emotion. She still cries freely, she's hopeful when she talks to Clive about fate, though it's been wicked to her so far. Yes, I mean, like, what keeps people going? Hope, desire. For Clive, for a while, it was revenge. That until really he had to face himself. And Jill helped him to do that. So, I mean, in what way did Jill change? Yeah, that she's actually involved in this war. Directly. She's on the battlefield. So the fact that you're kind of not making that distinction, or you refuse to, for the sake of, I guess, whatever argument you do have. They continue, I like to think of myself as a romantic like this too. And I'm happy that Square Enix doesn't present gentleness as a weakness. No, they do not. As many stereotypical female traits are often portrayed. But as part of what makes Jill impressive, but Jill never speaks. In pivotal scenes, she's not a woman, but a prop. Interchangeable with the trees and stars and a dog, Torgal. That waits by Clive's side, muzzled by devotion, exactly like she is. So you're comparing Jill to Torgal, a dog. And inanimate, well, and objects like trees. Just because what, she doesn't conduct herself like girl boss? I mean, literally, Clive and Jill come into an agreement, and they agree with each other what they must do, and they're willing to work together as a team. Why is that seen as bad? Well, because Clive is a male? And the protagonist you happen to play as? Come on, man, this is, like, ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. They literally agree with each other and agree to work together, and apparently, by modern-day feminism standards, that seems to be a bad thing. Oh man, she works together with male to accomplish goals. And a lot of these people that think, oh, you don't need no man, you don't need no man. Yes, you don't need a man, necessarily. You don't. And that should always be the case, that you have a choice but you're literally arguing against a choice that is the most beneficial to Jill. If you think that, oh, she should be doing, blah, blah, blah on her own and not be with Clive. I don't know if that's necessarily what you're alluding to, that she should be girl boss, but the fact that she and Clive work together to achieve their goal, to survive even. The fact that you think that that's a bad thing, the only thing I can think of is because she happens to be working together with a man. Absolutely ridiculous argument, man. And it's a lot of these lonely ass women that are like, I don't need no man, that literally your life is, in some cases, a lot worse because of it. But they say Final Fantasy XVI's Jill Warwick is silent when she shouldn't be. She's silent and not being girl boss when she should be girl boss. During the game's complicated extended cutscenes, I go back and forth between admiring Jill's clothes and this is like what you're choosing to do. I don't know if this is like you're choosing to make Jill just a prop. That's literally what you're saying in this article. They go between admiring Jill's clothes and deciphering her blank stare. She's totally being quiet here because she's reminded of her past. I catch myself thinking, well, I wouldn't know what to say in this situation either. Oh, so like you kind of understand where she's coming from, but you still have a problem with it. Eventually, I think of another cute girl I love, Hello Kitty. It's like you refuse to acknowledge Jill's own humanity. Compare her to Hello Kitty. Who has sent kids' hearts pumping with her red bow since 1974 and controversially has no mouth. It's like this person is trying to like lure in, I guess, both sides by talking out of two sides of her fucking mouth. Oh my god, I can't with this shit. That's to her benefit. Creator Scenario has I can't fucking speak. Scenario has said she is so empowering because she can be anything you want her to be. Scenario Senior Vice President of Marketing Jill Koch told Time in 2014, she makes you feel understood. Hello Kitty designer Yoko Yamuchi agreed. The fact that this is a comparison is insane to me. Characters like Hello Kitty and Jill, there's like no comparison. There's literally no comparison here. Other than, oh, Jill doesn't talk as much as I think she should. Characters like Hello Kitty and Jill make me feel like I might have tricked myself into something. They both have a few redeeming qualities, but the nuances of their personalities are decided by me as a fan, or worse, as a shallow girl. This seems particularly unfair for Jill. Her companion, Clive, talks and reveals so much about himself constantly, and yet, in all the time they've spent together, she never has the chance to do the same. So you want her to be the main protagonist, like the actual main protagonist that you play as, and you're upset about that. The story is literally follows Clive's life, like going from, it centers around him. Yes, she is a protagonist as well. She's not the main protagonist, but you're certainly, the way the narrative is told, it doesn't want to just dump everything on you. You're led to discover things about these characters around you. This is how, narratives are told in a story, to keep people constantly finding out new little things. Like, it's called, like, pacing, bitch! Pacing! The game takes Clive's emotional development so seriously. Some boss fights have double as physical manifestations of his internal conflict. After one of those fights, he dismisses his shakiness to Jill as nothing, turning silent into something prickly and pointed. She passively accepts it. So he's doing the same thing that you're complaining that Jill's technically doing. And even that's a problem, that he's doing the same thing, technically. How is this even an article? Oh my god. You literally, what Clive goes through, Jill has her own moment of going through the same thing. Clive has to do what he has to do to face himself. And Jill, I literally just completed this part of the game where Jill has to go through the same sentiment as well. Locked in battle later, Clive instead channels his suffering into anguished screams and beads of blood sacrificed for what he and Jill both believe in: self-determination, respect for magic, while Jill continues to mumble and stare. Basically, she's not the main character, so problem. I start seeing her like a Renaissance portrait of Mary or of somebody's widow, both of whom may have convictions and profound love inside them, but as far as anyone else can tell, are frozen forever in silence. Watching Jill tactily summon cold crystals out of the air while I push Clive to massacre enemies with the Phoenix's sweeping fiery plumes, I'm reminded of the poem White Eyes by Mary Oliver. The clouds, which have surrounded, which he has summoned, that loves us, that is asleep now and silent, that has turned itself into snow. It's like this person's trying to convince themselves that there's a problem here. And using like the most random shit to do it. Women in video games deserve to be multi-dimensional. And I do agree with that. And Jill literally is that. I don't understand, like, you refuse to acknowledge anything about this character's personality. Anything about her story. You refuse to acknowledge this. Is, oh, I'm gonna look at her outfit. I think that she's pretty. While it is true and observable that being pretty is a shortcut to many things, social psychology experiments have suggested that beautiful people are often assumed to be smart and kind. It doesn't automatically elicit good video game characters, and as Jill demonstrates, it doesn't equate to effective storytelling. I think that personally, I enjoy the way that Final Fantasy 16 kind of progresses with these characters. Yes, you're introduced to Jill in a way that is, I guess, very like, oh, you know, she's just she's on the sidelines and you know, wishing the main character the best as he goes into battle. But like, literally, her character does a whole, like, becomes a part of it all. She's way more invested. She's an important, integral character for many reasons. She's like a dominant. Like, she's so actually important, and her and Clive working together, it is genuinely, like, it is a necessity. They need each other. She is a reminder that developers need to take their video game women more seriously. Basically, video game developers must depict women the way I deem acceptable. That's literally what this is. Beyond the obnoxious old tropes they use to stuff them into, and the surface level feminism they are trying awkwardly to make fit. Jill looks and acts like a woman. She's not a girl boss. So automatically she's one-dimensional and surface level feminism. Come on, man. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. To make this possible, real women need to continue to be active and visible parts of the video game industry. Otherwise, we're stuck for eternity with characters like Princess Peach and Ashley from Resident Evil 4. Oh my god, this is so dumb! You are so stupid! What characters came before Ashley in Resident Evil? Jill, Claire. You're not going to acknowledge those characters that have been around since, like, what, the 90s? You're not going to acknowledge them. You're not going to acknowledge Samus. These characters have always been. They have literally always been. And Jill, which funny enough happens to be the same name as one of the greatest video game fucking protagonists ever, Jill Valentine. Jill from Final Fantasy 16 definitely fits into one of these characters. But since she's not a playable character, and since she doesn't have the girl boss mentality that you fucking losers are okay with, oh, she's a problem. She's not a good character because of this. I can't see these really surface level things that make me accept these characters, female characters, or make them acceptable to me or to the modern feminist movement. These things are not on immediate display or they're not in your face. This woman is Jill's actually a likable female character that isn't an annoying cunt. So therefore, this is problematic. She's not the main character you play as. You play as Clive. And guess what? They agree on things together and they work together as a team to achieve what needs to be achieved in a serious time in this game, in this game's universe. This is not... They're in the middle of some serious stuff in the game, not to get into, like, spoiler levels here. Like, serious, mature things are happening. I'm sorry, but, like, when you're in a situation like that, all this nonsense, the social, ideological BS, that stuff goes away when shit hits the fan. Okay, so what you're complaining about is so insufferably ignorant. You're just a moron. I'm sorry. There's just no other way to go about this. But you're gonna acknowledge Ashley from Resident Evil 4, but you're not gonna acknowledge Claire Jill. That blows my mind. Women who are pretty enough to love and root for, but too shallow to understand. Jill, I haven't played Resident Evil 4 myself, but Jill is nothing like Ashley. It isn't like Clive is out there having to go, like, constantly protect Jill. That's not a thing. What I like about Final Fantasy 16 is that I don't need to babysit. That's the great thing about it. That's one of my biggest highlights. That and that there's no puzzles in an action game. Clive is not there like, man, gotta look out for Jill. No, Jill holds her own because she's a dominant. She's badass. He doesn't have to worry about her. I mean, obviously he worries for her on an emotional level. You could tell that. And Clive, puts himself aside to help Jill come to terms with who she is and what they both need to do together. If you actually play the fucking game and realize that they both put themselves aside for each other in integral moments of that, if you can't realize that, well, you just want to make problems where they don't exist. But games keep refusing to let us. The industry prioritizes male gamers and characters' experiences while swearing it's changing. Recent research indicates that female characters have substantially less dialogue in games, including those like Final Fantasy X2. Literally have to go back to a PS2 game. A PS2 game. Talking about the modern issues, let's list PS2 game here. Including those like Final Fantasy X2 in which they are protagonists, the females are the protagonists, than male characters. Those women are also almost always cisgender and white. So games limit their thoughts while never even giving other kinds of women the opportunity to have them. So we got to go into like all this intersectionalism. This person is a clown. I'm sorry, just the fact that what is it, the second paragraph, you're like, let's give some kudos to Anita Sarkeesian right here. Like, honestly, it's hard to even take you seriously to begin with. They say this shouldn't continue. It doesn't need to. I know that some shells have radiant, milky pearls inside. And I think that Jill has more to give than Square Enix allowed her to. No, you just refuse to see past Jill's visual creation. That's literally a you problem. But even though every scene I've seen in my playthrough feels like a missed opportunity for her to be a girl boss and for her to directly tell Clive what to do. It isn't like Clive is sitting there telling Jill what to do the whole game, man. They actually, like, you could tell that they value each other so much. But apparently not girl boss, so problem. And they say, I like her anyway. I'm glad she's beautiful. I'm just frustrated because I know her voice is more precious. This is the problem with modern day gaming. And developers listen to stupid bitches like this, to stupid bitches like Anita Sarkeesian. And that's why we're in the mess that we're in. Jill deserves a shout out, man. I think Jill is a great character. And I love her and Clive as a team. And that goes to show, and at the end of the day, a lot of people want us to be divided. Everything to be divisive. The thought of Clive and Jill working together, male and female, that in itself is problematic to some of these individuals. And Final Fantasy 16 shows that that's a beautiful thing. And you know what? If someone like this bitch Ashley has a problem with that, well, they don't care. I think Jill's a great character for what she is. She's more than just pretty. Even though Kotaku simply just refuses to acknowledge or even see past the fact that she's a pretty character. But you guys, let me know what you think about this. Obviously, for the most part, I don't think this got too much into spoilers. If you felt as though it did, I'm really sorry about that ahead of time. I really tried to keep it as big as possible while also acknowledging and reading this article. But guys, if you can, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me over on Twitch, Twitter, or Kick if you'd like to continue the conversation. And guys, we'll up you and send them out. Peace.